The Sons of Jacob congregation was formed in the early years of the 20th century, and most of its members were first-generation Canadians who had immigrated from Eastern Europe. In its earliest years, prayer services were held in members' homes or, when necessary, after closing in the members' stores. It was therefore a major step forward when this building, which had been a furniture store, was purchased from a retiring Sklar family in 1925 with a small down payment and what was in those days a substantial mortgage. The congregation carried on in the storefront building for the next 20 years until the mid-40s, and it was only following World War II that the late Marvin Hoffman arranged the planning and modification of the interior and exterior of the building. It was a first-rate improvement with excellent facilities for prayer on the main floor, and the second floor had a schoolroom where children attended 2 or 3 times a week after their public school day was over. There was also a large room for meetings, complete with a kitchen with appliances, and when the occasion called for, a meeting or even a special holiday dinner. The 40s, 50s, and 60s were a time when the local Jewish community was at its peak, with approximately 50 to 60 families, and they were active in many local organizations. We would, in closing, like to recognize some of our pioneer families who led this congregation through some very difficult times. These include the Schachters, Weisers, Hermans, Ritters, Rosenbergs, Cohns, Adams, Wassermans, Silversteins, Lefkoes, Kissels, Wisemans, Rivelis, Browns, Himmels, Cates, Josephs, Myers, Backs, Burks, Gurovich, Daters, Stearns, Freedmans, and other citizens dedicated to their country, their city, and their synagogue. I'd also like to express a special thanks to Howard Kissel and my son Martin for their dedication and time in repairing the major damages that occurred 3 years ago. They did a tremendous job, and we are all grateful. I'd also like to remark on that my dad happened to be the first treasurer of the synagogue in 1925 when it was purchased. And I can remember as a very young person walking down Main Street as he collected $2 a week from the Jewish members of the community to keep the synagogue going in those years, and paid for a teacher who we had hired. And it's nice to also recall that when I returned from the Army, I took on the job of treasurer, and that my son is now the treasurer from time immemorial. So the Brown family has a pretty close relationship to this synagogue and is very proud that it's in its present condition and that we can continue on with it. So we'd like to say a special thanks to all who turned out today, and of course to the committee who designated the synagogue as a heritage building. And thank you all for your attendance, and